Humanity had always looked up at the stars with a mixture of curiosity and awe. For centuries, people had wondered if there were others out there, somewhere beyond the solar system, watching the same night sky. That curiosity turned into cautious vigilance when the first signals of the Galactic Empire reached Earth scientists. At first, the signals seemed harmless, strange patterns in the radio waves, bursts of light from distant systems. But as years passed, the reality became clear. These were not casual explorers. The Empire was vast, powerful, and it moved with precision and purpose. For decades, Earth had tried to stay under the radar. Governments and scientific organizations kept tabs on the Empire's movements quietly, careful not to provoke attention. Satellites, probes, and deep space monitoring stations were deployed to gather information without drawing notice. People on Earth went about their lives, unaware of how close their planet had come to becoming just another stop for a far-reaching empire that ruled many star systems. The discoveries were often shared only among top officials and scientists, cloaked in secrecy, because the world wasn't ready for the truth. The first undeniable sign that the Empire had noticed Earth came in the form of an emissary vessel. It appeared at the edge of the solar system, massive and imposing, casting a shadow that stretched across the void. Its purpose was diplomatic, or at least that's what the messages claimed. The vessel broadcast invitations to open dialogue, offers of knowledge, and promises of peace. To the untrained eye, it looked like an opportunity, but the experts who had studied the Empire for decades knew better. The Empire had a pattern. It approached worlds diplomatically, offered friendship, and then demanded control once the society had shown its vulnerability. The human response was cautious, but decisive. Meetings were held in secure locations, far from any public scrutiny. Leaders from all over the world joined virtual councils to discuss the threat. Military commanders, scientists, diplomats, and even ethicists came together to weigh every option. It was unlike anything humanity had ever attempted. Cooperation on a global scale, united by the realization that the future of the planet was at stake. They studied every piece of intelligence, every report from deep space observation posts. They ran simulations, created strategies, and prepared for scenarios that had seemed impossible a generation ago. As the council worked, ordinary people remained largely unaware. In classrooms, children learned about planets and stars. In offices, people worked on computers and projects that seemed routine. Yet, behind the scenes, humanity was quietly preparing for a confrontation that would determine the very survival of the species. Scientists modified satellites to detect even the slightest presence of cloaked ships. Engineers designed systems that could protect the planet from orbital attacks. And every decision was made with the understanding that failure was not an option. The Empire underestimated human resilience. It assumed that a species confined to a single planet, with limited technology compared to its interstellar fleets, would submit to pressure or distraction. But humans had faced threats before: pandemics, natural disasters, conflicts among themselves, and survived through ingenuity, cooperation, and stubborn determination. That history, though mundane on the cosmic scale, became the foundation for Earth's defense. Every decision, every piece of technology, and every strategy was built on centuries of trial, error, and adaptation. The first major breakthrough came when scientists discovered a pattern in the Empire's signals. They were not random bursts of energy, but structured communications that revealed more than the Empire realized. Hidden within the signals were details about fleet positions, ship movements, and even supply routes. It was like reading the Empire's diary without them knowing. Using this information, humans began preparing subtle countermeasures. Nothing aggressive yet, just preparations, learning, observing, and understanding. Every piece of knowledge gave the Council more confidence. Meanwhile, the Empire continued to approach Earth indirectly, testing reactions and observing behavior. It sent minor drones, small unmanned ships, and signals meant to probe human responses. Each time, the Council tracked these incursions carefully. There were no public announcements, no panic. Instead, small teams of engineers and military analysts studied the movements, adjusted detection systems, and ensured that Earth's response could be swift if needed. The planet itself became a quiet observer of the silent dance between humans and an empire that had never faced a world quite like it. Despite the secrecy, fear was not absent. Many officials knew the stakes. One mistake could lead to disaster. A miscalculated signal, an underestimated threat, or even a failure to communicate internally could spark a chain reaction that humanity might not survive. That fear, however, was tempered by determination. Leaders reminded themselves constantly that humans had survived worse, and that ingenuity was often the equalizer in conflicts with superior forces. Each day, as the Empire's ships moved closer, humanity's resolve strengthened. Ordinary citizens were about to become part of a history that would be remembered forever, even if they didn't realize it yet. The quiet preparation, the innovations, and the long nights of planning would culminate in a moment when Earth would step out of the shadows and make a stand. The world had spent decades learning, observing, and preparing. Every nation, every scientist, and every engineer was connected by the shared goal of survival and sovereignty. The Council faced a pivotal decision. The Empire had sent a new message, more insistent and layered with subtle threats. It was clear they expected compliance, or at least cautious deference, but humanity had reached a point where silence and submission were no longer viable. To continue hiding, to wait silently while an empire observed, would be to invite domination. The Council debated openly, weighing the risks of a bold declaration against the consequences of hesitation. The consensus was clear. Earth could not remain passive. The species had grown, adapted, and survived against unimaginable odds on its own planet. To surrender control of the solar system, even in part, would betray centuries of human resilience. The Council decided that a declaration would be necessary, a public announcement that Earth would no longer allow intrusion or control from the Empire. It was a daring step, unprecedented in history. No planet had ever openly challenged the Galactic Empire in this way. As preparations for the declaration began, every detail was scrutinized. Communications were encrypted, broadcast systems tested, and contingencies planned for every possible Imperial response. Scientists and engineers worked side by side with diplomats, ensuring that the message would reach not just the Empire, but every corner of the planet in a way that was clear, authoritative, and unifying. It was not just a warning. It was a statement of human identity, unity, and determination. In homes, schools, and workplaces across Earth, life continued as usual. People carried on, unaware that the history of their species was about to be written in real time. Yet behind the scenes, the planet had transformed. Ordinary humans had become part of a vast unseen effort. From technicians calibrating satellites to analysts decrypting signals, each contribution mattered. The world was quietly connected by a common purpose: to protect Earth, its people, and its future from a force that had never encountered a civilization willing to stand its ground. The night sky remained the same to the casual observer, stars glittering silently against the void, but humanity looked up differently now. They were no longer just dreamers or explorers. They were defenders of their home. The realization brought both pride and gravity. The Empire was out there watching, but Earth had already begun to change the rules. The first part of this story, the warning ignored, the preparation, the quiet vigilance, was complete. The next chapter would require even greater courage, ingenuity, and unity, as the planet prepared to announce to the galaxy that humanity would no longer be overlooked, underestimated, or ignored. And in that quiet, determined preparation, humanity proved something fundamental. A species bound to a single planet could, with unity and resolve, stand against the vast forces of the stars. The first part of their story was not one of war or confrontation, but of awakening, an understanding that survival required knowledge, courage, and the willingness to act when the time was right. After years of quiet observation and preparation, Earth was ready to make its position clear. The world had been holding its breath, unaware of how close the planet had come to being overlooked, or worse, dominated by an interstellar power. Inside secure command centers, scientists, diplomats, and military strategists worked tirelessly to craft a message that would leave no room for misunderstanding. This was not a threat delivered in anger, but a statement of human sovereignty, one that would be sent across the stars for the first time in history. The decision to make a public declaration was historic. No civilization in the Empire's long history had ever seen a planet rise and speak for itself without fear. The message had to be precise, firm, and yet diplomatic. Every word was debated and refined, tested through simulations and analyzed for possible misinterpretation. It was not just about the Empire understanding the message. It was about showing humanity's unity. Every nation, every culture, and every voice on Earth had to feel represented. Meanwhile, the Empire continued to hover at the outskirts of the solar system. Its ships were massive, gleaming with technology that dwarfed anything humans had in orbit. Yet for all its apparent power, the Empire's approach was slow and calculated, as though it expected humanity to yield. Satellites and early warning systems tracked every movement. Analysts noted the patterns, measured the speed of approach, and calculated the range of the Empire's sensors. Every observation was shared with Council members, who prepared for the possibility that the Empire might ignore the declaration entirely. Inside Earth's command centers, a quiet excitement grew. People knew this moment would be remembered forever, even if the world outside the secure facilities remained unaware. Technicians ensured that the transmission would reach deep into space. Satellites were calibrated for maximum range, and encryption systems were strengthened to prevent interference. Diplomats prepared contingency messages, while military strategists reviewed defense protocols, just in case the Empire decided to respond with force. It was a moment of intense focus, but also of pride. Humanity was about to declare itself as a sovereign force in the galaxy, and every human involved understood the weight of that responsibility. The announcement itself was carefully crafted. It opened with an acknowledgement of the Empire's existence and influence, followed by a firm declaration: the Galactic Empire was prohibited from entering, occupying, or conducting operations within all Terran space. The message explained Earth's right to self-determination, the need to protect its people, and humanity's commitment to peaceful coexistence wherever possible. But it also made it clear that intrusion would not be tolerated. The tone was firm but rational, reflecting a species that understood both the gravity of the situation and the importance of diplomacy. As the declaration was prepared for broadcast, the world outside continued in normal rhythms. Children played in parks, workers commuted to offices, and cities bustled with life. Yet in the quiet corners of laboratories and command rooms, a sense of history was palpable. The people behind the screens felt the enormity of the moment. They were not simply sending a message, they were announcing that humanity had grown, evolved, and was no longer willing to accept the oversight or control of a distant, powerful empire. When the moment finally came, the transmission went out simultaneously across multiple channels. Satellites beamed the message toward the far reaches of space. Automated systems ensured that every attempt at interception or disruption by the Empire could be countered. Inside Earth's control centers, a collective silence fell. Every eye was on the monitors, every mind focused on the unknown. No one could predict how the Empire would respond, and yet the act itself, speaking clearly, openly, and confidently, was a victory in its own right. The initial response from the Empire was silence. Days passed without a word. Analysts debated whether this silence was a sign of respect, indifference, or strategy. The Empire had never encountered a planet so bold, and its lack of immediate retaliation was both unsettling and encouraging. Human leaders reminded themselves that patience was a weapon, and they used the time to strengthen communications, improve defenses, and continue monitoring every Imperial movement. Public reaction on Earth was carefully managed. Governments issued statements explaining that no immediate threat existed, while emphasizing that humanity had taken an unprecedented step in asserting its sovereignty. People were informed that the declaration was a defensive measure, meant to protect the planet and its people without engaging in conflict. This helped prevent panic while also fostering a sense of shared pride. Humanity had spoken as one, and the world began to grasp the magnitude of what had just occurred. Within the Empire, the declaration caused quiet shock. Their intelligence networks had expected compliance or hesitation, not defiance. Analysts within Imperial command centers pored over the transmission, attempting to gauge the seriousness of the humans' words. For the first time, the Empire faced a species that did not immediately yield to their authority. The realization caused a ripple of concern among Imperial strategists, who were accustomed to worlds submitting without question. Earth was proving unpredictable, resourceful, and united, a combination the Empire had underestimated. Back on Earth, preparations continued. Scientists continued to refine monitoring systems, while engineers strengthened orbital defenses. Every small improvement was a reminder that humanity was not just sending a message, they were ready to act if necessary. Military strategists developed detailed response plans for multiple scenarios, ranging from small-scale incursions to full fleet engagements. The goal was not aggression but preparedness. Every human involved understood that the Declaration had set a new precedent. Earth would not be passive, and the Empire would be held accountable for its actions. Meanwhile, humans across the globe began to feel a subtle shift in perspective. They were no longer passive observers of the cosmos. They were active participants in shaping their future. The act of declaring sovereignty had united people across nations and cultures. Discussions about interstellar diplomacy, defense strategies, and planetary security became part of everyday conversation. Humanity's view of itself had expanded, from a planet-bound species to a civilization capable of standing up to one of the galaxy's most powerful forces. Despite this confidence, the Council remained cautious. The Empire's power was immense and patience was essential. Analysts continued to track fleet movements, noting shifts and patterns that could indicate a response. Satellites remained on high alert, and communication systems were monitored around the clock. Every precaution was necessary, because while the Declaration had been a triumph of unity and courage, the galaxy was still a dangerous place, and Earth's survival depended on vigilance. The Declaration had other consequences too. Scientists and engineers realized that the transmission had also acted as a test, a way to observe the Empire's capabilities and reactions. Every minor signal, every adjustment in fleet trajectory, provided data that humans could use to strengthen defenses and improve strategic planning. The act of speaking boldly had revealed vulnerabilities in the Empire's approach, offering humanity an unexpected advantage in understanding a civilization that had seemed untouchable. As days turned into weeks, the Empire finally responded. A fleet of observation ships moved toward the outer edge of Terran space, clearly testing human readiness. Analysts had predicted this, and Earth's defenses were ready. Communication channels were monitored for attempts at negotiation or intimidation. Military and scientific teams coordinated seamlessly, ensuring that every move the Empire made could be countered. The world watched silently, unaware that history was unfolding in real time. The Declaration, while simple in words, had changed everything. Humanity had spoken collectively, clearly and confidently. The Empire had been challenged in a way it had never expected, and the galaxy was now aware that Earth would no longer be passive. The planet had demonstrated unity, intelligence, and resilience. Ordinary humans working quietly in labs, command centers, and control rooms had created the foundation for a new era, one in which Earth could defend itself, negotiate from a position of strength, and demand respect. By the end of this phase, humanity had achieved something remarkable. It had taken a single unified action that would be remembered for generations. The act of declaring the Empire prohibited from Terran space was more than a statement. It was a promise to every citizen, to every future generation, and to every observer in the galaxy, that Earth would no longer be overlooked, underestimated, or ignored. The planet had awakened, and the rest of the stars had been forced to take notice. In that quiet moment of preparation, declaration, and vigilance, humanity proved something essential. A species that once lived entirely on one world could, through unity, courage, and foresight, assert its place in the galaxy. The first part of the confrontation had been won not by weapons but by words, planning, and a collective belief in the right to exist freely. The stage was set for what would come next, a test of ingenuity, resilience, and the unyielding human spirit. The calm that followed Earth's declaration did not last long. The silence from the Galactic Empire was unsettling, but it was also a clear sign that the humans' message had been noticed. Analysts monitoring the edges of the solar system detected subtle shifts in Imperial ship patterns. Fleets began to move, formations changed, and long-range sensors picked up minor energy discharges that suggested reconnaissance operations. Humanity had predicted some kind of response, but seeing it unfold was another experience entirely. The planet had spoken, and now the Empire was reacting. The first real confrontation was not dramatic or violent at first. It began as small calculated maneuvers by unmanned Imperial drones sent to test Earth's defenses. These drones, sleek and fast, moved in precise formations near Earth's orbit, scanning and probing. Human sensors detected every movement instantly, and the command centers around the world worked in coordination. Teams of engineers and analysts observed, predicted, and countered the drones' every action. It was a silent struggle, played out in the darkness of space far from the eyes of ordinary people on the planet below. Despite the lack of immediate danger, tension ran high. Every observation was treated as a potential threat. Scientists and military strategists collaborated to ensure that even minor missteps could be corrected quickly. The Empire's drones were sophisticated, equipped with cloaking technology and capable of evasive maneuvers. But humans had spent years preparing for this moment. Automated defense systems, previously tested only in simulations, were now ready in reality. Satellites and orbital platforms communicated in real time, ensuring that any intrusion could be detected and neutralized immediately. The first direct action came when a drone crossed a designated defense perimeter near one of Earth's outer satellites. The automated system recognized the object as a threat and engaged it. Using non-lethal measures initially, the system attempted to disable the drone electronically, sending pulses to scramble its circuits. The maneuver was successful and the drone was rendered inactive. For the first time, humanity had confronted an element of the Galactic Empire and emerged victorious without a single human casualty. This small victory sent ripples through Earth's command centers. Analysts reviewed every detail of the encounter, confirming that the systems worked as designed. Engineers made minor adjustments to improve efficiency, while strategists documented every action to refine future responses. Though the event seemed minor on a cosmic scale, it carried profound significance. Humans had demonstrated that they could defend their home with intelligence, technology, and coordination. The Empire, for the first time, had been challenged and stopped. The Empire's reaction to this setback was swift, though measured. More drones appeared, this time testing different approaches. Some moved faster, others attempted electronic countermeasures. Each time Earth's defense systems adapted. Humans had designed flexible networks, capable of learning from each encounter and adjusting strategies in real time. It was a game of intelligence and precision rather than brute force. The planet's defense was not about overwhelming power but about understanding, predicting, and responding faster than the intruders could anticipate. Inside Earth's command centers, the human teams were acutely aware of the stakes. Every minor encounter was a test of capability, coordination, and judgment. Technicians monitored sensor outputs, scientists interpreted data, and military analysts made split-second decisions. The atmosphere was tense but focused. The people involved knew that while the drones were not lethal in themselves, they represented the Empire's power and intent. A failure here could signal weakness and invite more aggressive action. Humanity could not afford mistakes. As the days passed, the encounters grew more complex. Drones moved in coordinated waves, attempting to confuse or overwhelm the defense systems. They tested multiple layers of orbital detection and electronic countermeasures. Each time, humans adapted using a combination of automated systems, strategic oversight, and real-time analysis. It became clear that the Empire had assumed Earth would be reactive and unprepared. Instead, humans were proactive, anticipating maneuvers and countering them efficiently. Civilian life continued largely unaware of the drama unfolding in orbit. Schools, offices, and homes went on with their routines. Yet behind the scenes, Earth's people were united in their efforts. Technicians worked long shifts monitoring satellites. Scientists developed improved algorithms for detection and response. Diplomats communicated updates across national and interplanetary channels. Every person involved understood the importance of their role, no matter how small it seemed. The collective effort became a quiet demonstration of humanity's capability and determination. The first true confrontation with the Empire's presence, however, escalated when a larger unmanned vessel approached the inner solar system. It was bigger, faster, and more advanced than any drone previously encountered. Sensors indicated it carried sophisticated cloaking systems and electronic warfare capabilities. Humans could detect it, but it was a reminder that the Empire's forces were vast and adaptable. The stakes had grown, and the team knew that any miscalculation could lead to serious consequences. Earth's response was precise and coordinated. Automated systems engaged, deploying a combination of electronic disruption and targeted orbital maneuvers. Satellites communicated with each other, creating a networked web of detection that could track even the faintest signal. Engineers had prepared for this, having studied simulations of advanced Imperial tactics. For hours, the vessel maneuvered near Earth, testing defenses while humans observed, adapted, and countered. It was the first time humanity's ingenuity had been tested under pressure against an actual Imperial asset. Finally, the vessel attempted a direct approach toward Earth's outer orbital platforms. The planet's response was swift. A combined effort of electronic disruption, signal jamming, and automated interception disabled the vessel temporarily, forcing it to retreat. It was a landmark achievement. Humans had not only defended their home, but had done so without direct confrontation or loss. The incident was analyzed repeatedly, each detail studied to improve future defenses. Humanity had proven that it could engage with the Empire intelligently, decisively, and safely. News of these early encounters was kept from the public to prevent panic. Instead, analysts shared selective updates that emphasized Earth's preparedness and resilience. The real story unfolded in secure command centers, where teams continued to monitor, strategize, and refine defenses. Each encounter, while brief, provided invaluable data. Humanity began to understand the Empire's tactics, strengths, and weaknesses in ways that simulations alone could never achieve. Beyond the technical victories, the psychological impact was profound. Humanity had challenged one of the most powerful civilizations in the galaxy and survived. Confidence grew among the Council and defense teams. The Empire, once considered invincible in human imagination, had been shown that Earth would not yield. Even the smallest success, the disabling of a drone or the retreat of a vessel, was a symbol of what unity, planning, and determination could achieve. The first confrontation also strengthened human collaboration. Engineers, scientists, strategists, and diplomats worked more closely than ever, sharing insights and innovations across borders. Knowledge of orbital defense systems, sensor networks, and electronic warfare spread rapidly within the secure community. Humans learned to anticipate each other's needs, communicate efficiently under pressure, and adapt to unexpected challenges. The confrontation had become a training ground for humanity's emerging interstellar capabilities. As weeks passed, the pattern of engagement continued. The Empire tested, humans adapted. Each encounter provided lessons, strengthened systems, and built confidence. Humanity realized that defense was not just about technology. It was about coordination, foresight, and resilience. Ordinary humans working quietly in labs and command centers had become the backbone of planetary defense. The first confrontation had demonstrated that Earth could defend itself intelligently, predictively, and successfully. The silent battle in orbit became a turning point. It was no longer enough to declare sovereignty. Earth had proven it could enforce that declaration. The Empire could no longer assume compliance or submission. Humans had shown that their species, bound to a single planet for millennia, could think, adapt, and act in ways that even a powerful galactic force could not ignore. By the end of this phase, humanity had achieved more than tactical victories. The first confrontation had created a foundation for future engagements, a blueprint for resilience and strategy. Humans had transformed from observers into defenders. The planet had spoken, and when tested, it had acted decisively. The Empire now faced a new reality. Earth would not be passive, and humanity had proven it could stand its ground, and so, the first confrontation became a story of intelligence, coordination, and courage. There were no dramatic explosions or massive battles, but the impact was profound. Humanity had met an interstellar force, countered it successfully, and learned valuable lessons that would shape the next stages of this unprecedented encounter. The quiet vigilance, preparation, and determination of countless individuals had turned what could have been a moment of fear into a triumph of. The quiet victories of the first confrontations had shown humanity that Earth could defend itself, but the Galactic Empire was not a force to accept defeat lightly. Observers noted a change in Imperial behavior. The distant fleets, which had previously lingered cautiously at the edge of Terran space, began moving with more purpose. Signals suggested coordination between multiple squadrons, and analysts warned that the Empire was preparing for a more serious test. Humanity had anticipated this escalation, But even so, the scale and precision of the Imperial maneuvers were impressive. Earth's command centers became hubs of constant activity. The previously orderly routines of analysis and defense shifted into a sustained operation. Teams worked around the clock, monitoring long-range sensors, recalibrating satellites, and analyzing signals. Every piece of intelligence was scrutinized. When the Empire deployed a new wave of drones, they were larger, faster, and equipped with enhanced cloaking technology. These were no longer probes, they were tools meant to pressure, to gauge human capabilities, and to find weak points. The human response was equally sophisticated. Scientists and engineers had spent years designing layered defense systems, and now those systems were being tested in ways simulations had only approximated. Orbital platforms deployed automated countermeasures, satellites adjusted detection frequencies, and communication networks ensured that every defensive move could be coordinated instantly. Humans had learned that speed, intelligence, and coordination mattered more than sheer firepower. The battle was not fought with weapons alone. It was a contest of strategy, prediction, and adaptability. The Empire's escalation had another effect. It forced humanity to innovate faster. Engineers developed new software to detect cloaked ships, scientists improved sensor arrays to spot even faint disturbances in space, and analysts devised algorithms capable of predicting movement patterns. Every small victory against the Empire's probes reinforced confidence and revealed opportunities to strengthen systems further. Humans had created a feedback loop. Each encounter taught lessons, each lesson improved defenses, and each improvement increased humanity's ability to anticipate the Empire's next move. Despite the constant vigilance, Earth remained calm on the surface. Civilians went about their daily lives, unaware of the scale of activity happening above their heads. Governments issued carefully worded updates emphasizing that the situation was under control and that the planet's defenses were effective. This helped prevent panic while reinforcing a sense of unity and resilience. Meanwhile, those involved in defense felt a growing pride. Humanity was learning to operate as a single organism, a coordinated species capable of meeting a cosmic challenge head-on. The first major test of Earth's resilience came when an Imperial task force attempted a direct approach toward the inner solar system. Unlike previous incursions, this fleet was larger, with ships moving in complex formations designed to overwhelm detection systems. Analysts calculated their trajectories, predicted timing, and coordinated responses across multiple platforms. It was humanity's largest test yet, and every person involved knew that failure could have devastating consequences. The confrontation began quietly. Imperial ships approached from multiple directions, attempting to probe weaknesses in orbital defenses. Satellites relayed real-time data to command centers, while automated systems engaged to counter potential threats. The ships carried advanced electronic warfare tools, but humans had anticipated these. Countermeasures, scrambled attempts to jam communications, and predictive algorithms allowed defensive systems to adjust instantaneously. What could have been chaos instead became a calculated, precise interaction. For hours, the task force tested Earth's defenses. Drones moved in coordinated waves, attempting to penetrate orbital shields, while larger vessels maintained positions designed to intimidate. Analysts tracked energy signatures, engineers tweaked satellite responses, and strategists evaluated patterns for vulnerabilities. Every move the Empire made was met with a human response that was faster, more coordinated, and increasingly unpredictable. For the first time, the Empire encountered a civilization that did not simply react, they anticipated. Humanity's success in these engagements was not without tension. Moments of uncertainty tested every team. A single miscalculation could have allowed a ship to bypass defenses, leading to potential damage or escalation. Yet humans adapted. Teams communicated efficiently, shared observations, and responded collaboratively. Decisions were made quickly but deliberately, balancing caution with the need to act. The planet itself became a coordinated entity, a unified system of defense and observation. The Empire, recognizing that conventional probing was ineffective, escalated further. Larger vessels attempted to test orbital shields directly, moving in formations meant to strain Earth's capacity. But humans were ready. Layers of automated defenses activated simultaneously. Electronic countermeasures disrupted sensor interference, and satellites adjusted trajectories to maintain optimal coverage. The result was a flawless defensive display, one that highlighted the ingenuity and adaptability of a species once thought limited to a single world. This escalation also brought humanity closer together. Engineers in one facility coordinated with scientists on the other side of the planet. Analysts shared predictive models with military strategists. Diplomats maintained lines of communication to ensure political cohesion, preventing panic or division. The planetary effort became a human achievement as much as a technological one. Ordinary people indirectly contributed too by maintaining societal stability, ensuring that the focus on defense remained uninterrupted. Over the next weeks, Earth maintained a constant state of vigilance. Imperial fleets continued to test defenses, attempting to probe weak points and adjust strategies. Each time, humans responded effectively, often anticipating maneuvers before they could be fully executed. The pattern became clear. The Empire had expected hesitation or compliance, but humanity's unified, adaptive response defied those expectations. The planet had become a model of resilience, demonstrating that intelligence, coordination, and foresight could overcome raw power. The psychological impact on Earth's defenders was profound. Confidence grew as each successful interception reinforced belief in humanity's abilities. People realized that their species, once confined to a single planet, had become a credible force in the galaxy. Lessons from previous encounters were applied immediately, improving readiness and strengthening systems. The first wave of escalation had been neutralized, and humans were learning faster than the Empire could anticipate. The Empire, in turn, began adjusting tactics. Observers noted changes in fleet formations, timing, and probing methods. Analysts within Earth's command centers interpreted these adjustments as signs of recognition. The Empire had understood that Earth was not a passive planet, and that any further incursions would be met with intelligent resistance. The galaxy's greatest power had encountered a civilization that refused to submit, and the shift in Imperial tactics reflected caution, respect, and perhaps even uncertainty. Despite the continuous activity, Earth remained remarkably stable. Civilians were largely unaware of the intensity of events above their heads. Life on the surface carried on, a testament to human organization and focus. Governments, media, and institutions provided reassurance, emphasizing progress and the effectiveness of planetary defenses. Meanwhile, those directly involved in monitoring and responding to Imperial actions felt the weight of responsibility. Every success reinforced the belief that humans could adapt, innovate, and protect their home. This period of escalation also accelerated technological advancement. Engineers refined automated defense systems, scientists improved sensor sensitivity, and analysts developed algorithms capable of modeling complex maneuvers in real time. Every encounter with the Empire became a training exercise, a way to enhance systems while gathering intelligence. Humanity had learned to turn challenges into opportunities, transforming pressure into progress. By the end of this phase, Earth had not only defended itself but had demonstrated remarkable resilience. The Empire's escalation had tested every system, every plan, and every individual involved. Humanity had responded with intelligence, coordination, and precision. The planet had proven that it could protect itself, anticipate threats, and adapt to changing circumstances. More than technology, it was human ingenuity, collaboration, and determination that had turned potential disaster into victory. The success of this period sent a clear message to the galaxy. Earth would not yield. The Empire had encountered a species capable of defending its home, capable of adapting to threats, and capable of learning faster than expected. Humanity's response had been decisive, coordinated, and effective. The first stages of confrontation had tested Earth's capabilities, but the planet had emerged stronger, more unified, and prepared for whatever came next. As the Empire adjusted to these lessons, humanity continued to refine its systems. Every encounter, every observation, and every small victory contributed to a growing body of knowledge. Humans had moved beyond passive observation. They were now active participants in interstellar diplomacy, defense, and strategy. The escalation had revealed both challenges and opportunities, but it had also. The long weeks of confrontation had changed Earth. The planet had faced one of the galaxy's greatest powers, and had not only survived, but emerged stronger. The first probes, the initial drones, and the subsequent fleets had all been met with preparation, intelligence, and courage. Humanity had shown the Empire that Earth would not yield, that its people were united, and that their home was a place no force could easily dominate. The Empire's response to these repeated defenses was significant. For the first time, they did not send more fleets immediately, nor did they attempt direct attacks. Analysts monitoring the fleets observed unusual formations, a clear indication that the Empire's commanders were reconsidering their approach. Communications indicated negotiations were underway behind the scenes, cautious attempts to understand the planet that had resisted every test. The Empire had never encountered a species capable of defending itself so efficiently without direct large-scale combat. Humans had turned intelligence, coordination, and foresight into weapons stronger than firepower. Earth's leadership recognized the opportunity. The planet's unified council, representing every nation and region, began preparing for direct communication with the Empire. Diplomats and scientists worked together to craft messages that were firm yet respectful, highlighting Earth's sovereignty while opening the door for peaceful coexistence. Unlike previous communications, which had been warnings or responses, this one would signal humanity's readiness to negotiate from a position of strength. The Council understood that the next step could define the planet's place in the galaxy for centuries to come. The process of negotiation was complex. The Empire, accustomed to unquestioning obedience from other civilizations, was unprepared for humans who demanded equality. Messages were exchanged carefully, with Earth insisting that no Imperial operations could take place in Terran space. The Empire initially tried to use subtler forms of pressure, offering trade, technology, and diplomatic privileges, but humans remained steadfast. They were willing to cooperate, to learn, and to share knowledge, but not at the cost of independence. The stance was firm, and the Empire realized that any attempt to challenge it further could risk escalation. Behind the scenes, humanity continued to prepare. Although the threat of full-scale conflict had lessened, no one assumed safety. Engineers upgraded satellites and orbital platforms, scientists refined predictive algorithms, and analysts monitored the Empire's fleets for any sign of renewed aggression. Every precaution ensured that Earth could act quickly if negotiations failed. The planet had learned a critical lesson. Preparation was not just about defense, it was about ensuring freedom and security in every possible scenario. The negotiations, though tense, gradually bore fruit. After weeks of careful discussion, the Empire agreed to recognize Earth's sovereignty formally. A treaty was drafted acknowledging that Terran space was off-limits to all Imperial fleets and operations. It was unprecedented. A planet had successfully asserted its independence and forced one of the galaxy's greatest powers to respect it. Diplomats celebrated quietly, knowing that this agreement would set a precedent for how other civilizations might interact with powerful empires in the future. The treaty was more than a document. It was a symbol of humanity's unity, resilience, and ingenuity. People on Earth, once divided by nations and politics, now shared a collective pride in their species' achievement. Ordinary citizens, unaware of the full details, sensed the change. Education systems incorporated lessons about global unity and interstellar diplomacy, while the media highlighted the significance of a planet successfully negotiating with a galactic power. Humanity had proven that intelligence, coordination, and courage could rival even the most advanced forces in the galaxy. Even as celebrations began, the Council remained focused on the future. Earth had demonstrated that it could defend itself, but the galaxy was vast and the Empire was not the only force beyond the stars. Humans needed to continue advancing their technology, improving defenses, and maintaining unity. The treaty had secured sovereignty, but vigilance remained a necessity. The lessons learned from the confrontation and negotiations became a foundation for long-term planning, ensuring that Earth would remain secure for generations. Humanity also reflected on how it had changed during this period. The crisis had revealed a collective strength previously untapped. Scientists, engineers, and strategists had collaborated across borders and disciplines, sharing knowledge and resources. The planet's people had discovered that unity, intelligence, and foresight were more powerful than fear or aggression. Ordinary humans had contributed in countless small ways, from maintaining societal stability to volunteering in research programs, proving that survival and success were truly collective achievements. The Empire, too, had learned. Its commanders and analysts realized that intelligence alone did not guarantee dominance. A species capable of adaptation, learning, and foresight could resist control in ways that brute force could not predict. While the Empire remained vast and powerful, it now viewed Earth with respect, caution, and a recognition that diplomacy with this planet required genuine engagement, not coercion. The encounter had changed the galaxy's perception of humanity. As Earth continued its path forward, the planet embraced a new role. Humans began sharing knowledge cautiously, exploring interstellar communication, and establishing early partnerships with neighboring systems. These initiatives were undertaken carefully, ensuring that Earth maintained its independence while participating in the larger galactic community. Lessons from the confrontation with the Empire guided every decision. Humanity had learned that strength came not just from technology but from coordination, intelligence, and ethical leadership. Cultural and scientific developments surged. Educational programs focused on space, technology, and diplomacy, while global research initiatives advanced faster than ever. Ordinary people felt part of a larger story, inspired by the knowledge that their species had faced a galactic empire and had emerged respected, if not feared. Artists, writers, and historians documented the events, preserving the story for future generations. Earth had transformed from a planet focused primarily on survival to one aware of its potential in the galaxy. The treaty with the Empire also allowed for measured exploration. Humans could now venture further into the solar system and beyond, knowing that the Empire would not interfere in their development. Satellites, research stations, and exploratory vessels expanded humanity's reach. The achievements of a unified species defending its home inspired confidence in explorers, scientists, and diplomats alike. The lessons of the confrontation and subsequent negotiations became guiding principles for every interstellar mission. Even as the excitement and celebration continued, Earth remained grounded in realism. Leaders emphasized the importance of continued vigilance, technological advancement, and global cooperation. Humanity had learned that survival in the galaxy required foresight, adaptability, and unity. The successes of the past months provided confidence, but the planet knew that the future held new challenges and opportunities. Earth had gained respect and security, but it could not afford complacency. In the end, humanity's victory was both practical and symbolic. The Empire recognized Terran space as off-limits, a remarkable achievement in a galaxy dominated by powerful forces. Humans had proven that a species confined to one planet could protect itself, negotiate from a position of strength, and influence the larger cosmos without firing a single shot in full-scale war. It was a triumph of intelligence, unity, and courage, qualities that defined Earth's people more than any technology or fleet of ships. The story concluded not with explosions or battles, but with recognition, respect, and hope. Earth had faced a force far greater than itself and had secured its place in the galaxy. The treaty ensured sovereignty. The lessons strengthened future defenses, and the planet's people had discovered the true extent of their collective power. Humanity had learned that standing together, thinking strategically, and acting with determination could overcome even the most daunting challenges. And so, Earth entered a new era. The planet continued to explore, to innovate, and to grow, confident in its ability to protect itself and its people. The Galactic Empire, once a looming threat, now viewed humanity as a capable, respected presence. The confrontation and its resolution became a turning point in history, a story of courage, intelligence, and unity that would inspire generations. Humanity had claimed its place among the stars, not through fear or dominance, but through foresight, determination, and the unyielding spirit of a species unwilling to be overlooked.